Good afternoon. I'm Danielle Shenk in the 1011 Now streaming studio. Today, we're following some serious concerns out of Red Cloud Community Schools, where a first grader was left locked on a school bus for more than an hour. And an investigation found 4 employees failed basic safety protocols. But the district still hasn't explained what's been done to prevent this from happening again. Now, Local 4's Ian Mason has been digging through investigation records, complaints, and school board documents to piece together kind of what went wrong and why the district has been reluctant to share some details. So this has been quite the work in progress for you, Ian.
Absolutely. And I want to start off by thanking you for having me. I'm really excited to be here because I've been working on this story for about 2 weeks now. And we're just touching the tip of the iceberg about what's going on down in Red Cloud because there's just so much to this situation that's happening. To start off with the boy on the bus, a tragic incident, there was just so many things that went wrong leading up to that, Danielle.
Yes, Ian. So you've been digging into this incident. Can you kind of walk us through how the first grader ended up being left on the bus for more than an hour?
Yeah, so basically what happened, and again, this is from my understanding from the documents that I've obtained. Basically, a boy got on a school bus, fell asleep, and the driver took the bus back to the Red Cloud bus barn, which is not by the school, by the way. Red Cloud's a town of about 1,000 people. It's not, the barn is not very close. You have to cross a couple highways to get there. And so it would have been dangerous for the boy to get back if he had gotten out. But anyway, bus went back to the bus barn, bus was locked down, kid couldn't figure out how to get out. And he was stuck in there until a maintenance man who just was there to check on the radio found him there. But the real crux of this situation is not that the boy was stuck on the bus, but the fact that the mother was not notified. So that's the really big thing here. So the school, figured out, it was a substitute teacher that day that figured out, this child was not at school that day. And then it came across, they went down to the secretary, and according to one of the documents I got, the complaint the parents filed with the State Board of Education, basically what happened was the secretary said, it's not my job, I don't want to do it. And so the school knew the kid was missing, but did not do anything about it, did not notify the mother. So the mother got a call at 9:21 is what one of the documents says, that basically she got a call, hey, your son's been found, great news. And the mother was like, I didn't know my son was missing, and so it started to come down to, the bus driver, he was found at, I think it was called primary fault is what he was found at, which means that he needed to check the bus for sleeping kids, and he didn't. But there was also a para on board. The para educator, her job seems to be focused with preschoolers. I've tried to talk with her. She's not responded to my requests for comment, but basically she said, one of my kids, I'm not concerned about what happens to him. Then you had the secretary, again, we talked about her role of the parents saying the secretary said, I don't want to do this isn't my job. I'm not going to do it. And then we also have the principal at all this. The principal of the school wasn't making sure that these policies, procedures weren't being followed, and she was not enforcing them.
Yeah. And so you found that there were quite a few people at fault in this. I want to try to bring up the graphic. When I did, I had a little issue there. So let me see if I can get this up and ready.
No worries. I come from live television. I'm used to this sort of stuff.
Yeah, and that's what happens with streaming. There's, you kind of, as Bill used to say, that you see the sausage being made. So we have the graphic here, but then it cuts off the audio. So let's see here. All right, Ian, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
There we go. Just a small little button. All right. So you kind of touched on this here just a little bit ago about the few people involved. So taking a look at this graphic, what else can you tell us?
So the investigation which we obtained, that was exclusively sent to us by an anonymous source. So we have all this documentation that was sent to us by a couple people. And basically the investigation report found that the bus driver is at primary fault because he didn't check for the kids. He didn't do the end of route check, which he's supposed to do. That's a state policy, by the way, not just a school district policy. The paraeducator said it wasn't her job to do that. She just blamed the bus driver, said it's his fault. But she, of course, didn't check for students either, but she went ahead and blamed the bus driver. The secretary did not call the mom when the school found out the kid was missing, said that wasn't her job to do. And the principal was not making sure that policies were being followed according to that official report that we have. And the secretary, according to the complaint that the parents filed with the state, told someone at the school that, well, it's not my job to call people. Now, I went ahead, part of my job as a reporter is to dig into documents. I went ahead, and in my story here, my 3-minute long story, I always joke that my stories are long because I spend so much time on them, but I had the actual quote from the school district in there, from their handbook, that basically talked about, this is the policy. The secretary or the school principal will notify. Well, a paraeducator at the school said to the secretary, hey, not here. And the secretary said, I don't care, alleging, according to what the parents said in their complaint to the state. And so it's really interesting. Now, if I were to share one fun fact about this, we obtained the letter that the school, it's a certified sent to the mother. And that letter said the incident happened on September 9th. The investigation, and quite frankly, everybody I talked to and everybody in the document said that it happened on September 8th. So the school district's own apology letter didn't even have the right date on it. That's something that I didn't really get to include into the story, but I had a paragraph about it. But that one, as a reporter, just kind of shocked me. It's like, so as a school, you're admitting that you made a mistake, but you're not going to do the due diligence to make sure that you don't have a typo in there of the date and an apology letter. That one just shocked me.
Yeah, that stood out to me too when I was reading through your articles. I was like, how does that even happen? I thought it was going to be even funnier. Well, not funnier, that this is not a funny situation, but if it was
no, it's not, but
a Sunday, like a Sunday to Monday type of mix up, but the 8th was on a Monday and then the 9th was on a Tuesday. But, when it comes to that.
So superintendent of Superior Public Schools, I think his name is John Wetzel, if I remember right. He was the one that conducted this investigation, and he called it a perfect storm. That's a direct quote. Is he said it was a perfect storm of circumstances that led to this happening. And I've talked to other educators, and they've all said, like, this is just failure after failure after failure. And someone from, I can't say who, but someone from the school did tell me, they said, look, this is uncommon. This makes us look bad. But really, most of our people follow our policies. Mm-hmm. It was just one day where this happened. But I'm going to go ahead and pull back the curtain. I have basically talked to over 24 people is what I'll say. Some of them we've seen on camera, some of them we've not seen on camera. But we've really not shown a lot. so far. We're just in the beginning of this. But I've had other parents come forward to me and say, oh, my kid was left on the bus too. Now, I've not confirmed any of this yet. Believe it or not, I've been very swamped with this story. We've had coverage of this every day so far because there's more and more details to this story. So I'm working on confirming whether or not this is a pattern. I did talk to somebody from the school who did not comment, but was surprised to hear that this has happened more than once.
Right. And so you did kind of
Possibly.
touch, yeah. And so you touched on kind of some failures leading up to not notifying the parents according to district policy that they should have been called by 8:15 a.m. And so you also reached out to the district, reviewed some school board minutes. What have officials kind of given you for an answer, if any?
So there's it's a great question. There's a lot of this. One of the fun things as a reporter is we get to learn to speak legalese whether we like it or not. And so like I reached out to every single member of the school board. I reached out to all the people in the school district, and it was either talk to my attorney or they didn't respond to me. They didn't call me back, whatever, what have you. But the one attorney that was willing to comment was the school's attorney, and he basically said, "Look, we have taken the necessary steps to resolve this situation, make sure it doesn't happen again." Now, here's where the problem that the community has with this incident, because this happened again back in like September 9th, September 8th, depending on who you believe. But this happened a long time ago, and the school district has not shared what they've done to rectify this, what new policies they have. And part of that incident is, and we've not gotten to touch on this much, but the school contracts out their buses. They have a company that buses kids for them. This isn't like the school district who does it. They have a contract. And I don't want to give away too much, but we will be going into that contract because there is a little bit of, shall we say, hijinxery going on with that contract and whether or not it was valid at the time that this kid was left on the bus. So I don't want to give away all that story yet. I've been able to confirm some things, but I'm still trying to figure out some other things. But I'll just put it there that contract, there were some issues with it when that happened, when the busing incident occurred.
And so, what does the family kind of want to see out of this? I know that the child's family has filed complaints with both the district and the Nebraska Department of Education, according to your reporting. So, what are they kind of asking?
The main thing the family wants, from what I've been able to obtain, is they want answers. They want to figure out how this happened, why this happened, and how to prevent it from happening again. They've kind of gotten the how and the why at this point. Like, that's been very well documented for them. But the how can we prevent this again is not something that they've gotten. That's not something we've gotten. I kind of reached out and gotten radio silence about that. No one is willing to tell me what policies have actually changed. I have a couple things I'm going to try over the next few days to see if I can get that answer from some different people. But again, I can't give away everything yet.
Yeah. And so she's looking for answers. Parents are looking for answers. Community's looking for answers. And so you went to the school board meeting. How has the community kind of reacted to this lack of transparency from the district?
Well, it's been quite interesting. So to start off with, I went to this school board meeting and a lot happened there in a very short amount of time. Let's start off with the fact that there was a letter that a mother submitted that the school board did not read. During the board president's report, he's supposed to read all the letters the school board gets. He's supposed to go through that. What he did during his report was he gave a speech about transparency. And he said, we want to be transparent. The school board actually, that meeting happened the day we actually went live with this story. So that happened. We talked to, I didn't talk to I had asked the school board for comment. I only heard back from their attorney, obviously, but I went there that day. I wasn't going to ask any questions. I just wanted to see if it was addressed. And really, it wasn't addressed. And so you had people there who I talked to. They were upset about that. And they were also upset that this one parent's letter wasn't read. And we have a lot to get to before we should get into why this mother's letter was not read. But that mother reached out to us about this incident and basically said, look, there is a lot more here. I'm unhappy that my letter was not read. And she mentioned that some of the people who involved in this incident with the school, not even the private company, but with the school, are still with the school board or with the employed by the school and working with kids. Let's go ahead and hear what she had to say, Danielle.
That from about the paraeducator?
Yes, about the
Okay.
paraeducator. Yep, that should be the first one.
The para professional who was on that bus still works with our kids every day. She should not. If you cannot be bothered to walk through the bus to check for all students, not just preschoolers, you should not be part of this program. You should not be in the school. And Hoff doesn't want to deal with it. But I feel like the school board may also be trying to hide the fact that they want to give him severance pay.
And that kind of sets up a lot of what's really going on. So first of all, we got to break down that clip because there's so much to it. All the clips we air today, by the way, have not been seen before on our reporting. So
And
I got you some special stuff.
And so this was a concerned parent. I just want to, what was her name?
Yeah, Rochelle Winfeld. She reached out to us because the school board did not read her letter that she had sent in about an issue that she was passionate about. And she mentioned a guy named Hoff there. Hoff is the superintendent of the school. And the superintendent is going through a bit right now. To start off with, as I started going through these minutes and everything, I learned that he actually wants to leave the school board. So his contract was renewed this year, and I read his contract. It's public information. His contract says he can leave whenever he wants, but he wants the school district to pay him to leave. And so that is currently kind of what the board is trying to navigate is, do we pay him? Do we not pay him? And then last Monday, there was also an incident about whether or not there's a lawsuit pending with this as well. So why the school superintendent wants to leave is something I've not been able to confirm. No one will tell me why. I've heard plenty of rumors, but I've not been able to get a verified fact from it. I've not gotten any documents on that. So of course, I'm not sharing what I do know on that or what I believe on that. But, some people do think it is related to the busting incident, and it did happen around the same time he started discussing wanting to leave around the same time that busting incident occurred. But correlation is not always causation.
Yeah, and I mean that's just another wrinkle added to this incident and this story. And so parents did ask for that letter to be read, but what was the reasoning that the board president gave for not reading it out loud?
So the board president, we can get that clip ready, by the way. The board president basically said, hey, we've got to meet with our lawyer, because how it works is the superintendent has a lawyer and the school has a lawyer, and those two lawyers negotiate how much the superintendent should be paid to leave his position. And so he was paying his lawyer to be there. And the first 30 minutes of the school board, his lawyer was on the clock, but he wasn't speaking with the lawyer. The lawyer wasn't negotiating. And so he had basically said, look, I want to speak with our attorney, so I'm going to glaze past this and not read it. Let's go ahead and listen to that clip, because some parents were pretty upset by this.
Why do you choose not to read that out loud, but you'll read when someone sends a letter, when there's positive things?
Today, we didn't read the letter, is that what you're asking about?
Correct.
I'd like to get to the closed session. We have an attorney that we're paying to talk to us, so.
But is there a
I have other
reason, there's
things
nothing in our
going on.
policy that states what type of board communication is read or not read? Why was that one chose not to be read?
Because I chose not to read it today.
Yeah, but out of transparency,
I think you should ask for a copy of it.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very interesting to be there. So when I sat down in the back, and there were probably about 36 people there by my count, and none of them were happy that letter wasn't read. Now, we can get into why that letter wasn't read. Now, I wanted to show that clip first, but basically what was going on is there was that, and at the same time, you saw the board member, the woman with black hair. Her name is Hannah Ruprecht, and what is going on with her is the board has publicly asked her to resign. We'll get into why in a bit, but that letter was in support of Hannah Ruprecht, and so some parents there felt that the board president, Jeff Armstrong, did not want to read that letter because he's the one that I don't know if he led the charge. I'd not be able to confirm that, but he was the one that read the request for a public resignation from Hannah Ruprecht. She did not resign, by the way, and that happened back in October. This was after negotiations with the superintendent started, and there's a lot to that.
And so, what's kind of the background related to this conflict involving her? I mean, the board president had previously asked her to resign. Is that right? So, what are some of the allegations kind of
Yes.
surrounding this situation?
So I can't, I got to figure out how to be careful with this because I know that there were some conversations beforehand about whether or not she should resign. I don't want to say more than that, but I know that was a question that the board had dealt with for a little bit is how do we deal with Hannah? And so they officially asked her to resign. I believe their meeting was on October 20th. We've obtained the audio from that meeting. We don't have video. They don't record their meetings with video, but we have that audio of them asking her to resign. And they basically said it was because she was not conducting herself in a professional manner. I'm not going to get into too many details about that just because I do have a little bit of documentation that I'm working to verify at this point. Is this real? Did this happen? And we'll be running, I don't want to say running with that, but we'll be talking about that more next week. So this week, we kind of wanted to introduce everybody to Red Cloud and say, hey, there's some problems going on. And then we're going to just continue to dive deeper and deeper into Red Cloud and their school board as it comes forward. So I've got a couple things lined up there, but they basically, the school board said, look, you're being unprofessional, conduct unbecoming, I think is what they called it. And they asked her to resign and she said, I'm not going to resign. Now, there's a Facebook group in support of her, which Red Cloud is small, so everybody in that Facebook group knows what's going on. And so if you join the Facebook group or you look at the Facebook group like I did, there's no background as to what's going on besides they want Hannah Ruprecht to resign and this group does not want her to resign. There's been some transparency issues with the school board. There have been some Open Meetings Act violations according to the county attorney. And so there's been the question of, is the school board above board? Are they following the law? And Hannah has really, from what I can tell, been holding their feet to the fire from some of these school board meeting minutes. She's been a little, I don't want to say too transparent, but she's been to the point where she makes sure that they are following the law and she wants to make sure that everything is said. So like parents ended up getting that letter from Hannah Ruprecht. Hannah turned around as the board was walking out and set that letter down and said, if you guys want to read this, you can, and then went into that closed session. So Hannah is all about transparency, and she is kind of accusing the board of hiding things, and she's accusing the board of retaliating against her because of what's happening. And the board is saying, well, you have some social media posts that we don't like. Specifically, they came from Snapchat, what I've seen. So there's a question of, well, that wasn't technically public, but the board got their hands on it. So, what is that? And does she have a First Amendment right to say what she did? And so there's a whole lot that goes into that. But the board also has said that she was discussing things from closed sessions with people and that they have a problem with that. That allegation I've not been able to confirm. I'm working on that, but I have seen the social media posts, some social media posts.
And so they're asking her to resign, but the superintendent also wants to resign. That's another wrinkle,
Yes.
that you've talked about. So let's kind of go back to that. The board wants to pay him, and they, you mentioned that his contract started this year, but can the district afford something like this?
That's a great question. That's something that I've really kind of struggled with is, can they pay him? So I know that some members of the board want to pay him and some members of the board don't want to pay him. According to what I've been told by non-board members, I should clarify that is all speculation because I've had a really hard time getting a hold of board members, and who I have gotten a hold of has not been keen to talk with me. So from what I've heard, some are willing to pay him, some are not willing to pay him. So there's this discussion of, well, if we do pay him, how much do we pay him? What do we pay him? And so there's that. That's a big component of it. And one interview I had with, he was a guy named Mike. He's got 4 kids in Red Cloud Community Schools. And basically he said, look, I don't think the district can afford to pay Superintendent Hoff what he's asking to leave. And he's worried about the repercussions that might have on the school. Let's go ahead and play that clip too, Danielle.
Well, I like Brian. Brian's done a good job for the district. He's always had an open door policy with me. We don't always agree, but we have an open discussion. If it's a big payout, kids are not going to have computers and books and things they need for school. It's got to, our kids will suffer from it.
Yeah, and then, I mean, big concern for such a small school.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things we've not really talked about yet. I don't want to get too far into this one, but the group of people. There's actually a group in public who wants her to resign as well. They claim that the superintendent has said he will stay if she resigns. And they've said, well, she's costing the district money because she's refusing to resign. And so that's why they're going to pay the superintendent, is because she won't resign. And so there's this question of, can the district afford it? If they can't, how do they get around doing that? And again, according to what I read in his contract, he doesn't need money to leave. This is something that he wants, that he's negotiating for. So why the school board is working with him is something beyond me. So I'm sure there's more to this that I just haven't figured out yet that I'm working on. You know, this is very transparent. This is the process that we go through as reporters to try to figure out exactly what's going on. And this one, it just happens to be very long, very messy, and I have hundreds of questions that I don't have answered yet.
Yeah, lots of fact checking that needs to be done, and checking those facts just to like double, triple check, make sure everything's accurate before you report it. And so, as you also kind of mentioned, parents have said this is sort of part of a pattern, leaving this student on the school bus. So what are some other examples that you're hearing as you continue covering this district?
So I've not quite, I have had an individual, I'll say, confirm that there was another child left on a bus. I'm awaiting documentation from that, but a first-hand account said that did happen. And then I've got a third-hand account of somebody saying, well, this happened to this person. I've reached out to that person and I've not heard back yet. And one of the reasons why we went with our reporting when we did, like we wanted to get this out there as quickly as we could, is because I was having a real big time, a real hard time getting people to talk to me. So, I was reaching out to family members. I was reaching out to people, anybody who would talk to, and I about 24 people talking and say, well, this is what's going on, both sides, but nobody wanted to go on camera. And so I basically said, well, I have this trove of documents. And so I spent Friday getting these documents together, working with our wonderful graphic artist, Heath. I did some of the graphics in there too. I had one of my coworkers, Kiefer, go down to Red Cloud because I didn't have time to go down to Red Cloud as I was putting this together. He went down to Red Cloud, got some footage for me. So that way we were able to air this story Monday morning. And because we knew there was the school board meeting Monday night, and we didn't know if this would come up, and we didn't want to go live outside the school board meeting that night or the next morning and say, well, here's what happened, and everybody go, why are you guys covering Red Cloud School Board? We wanted to not only did we want to share that this is happening, but we wanted to share with the community that we're not out to get anybody. As a reporter, I'm not out to get anybody. It's my job to find the facts. It's my job to figure out what's happening. I don't have a grievance against anybody. It's a terrible situation. But as a reporter, it's not my job to have a grievance. It's not my job to have a dog in this fight, if you will. And so I just kind of stand back and I tell what the documents told me. And I've slowly had people, coming forward to me. Like I've had that mother who came forward to Local 4 the day after the school board meeting when her letter wasn't read. She texted me. I woke up Tuesday morning and there was a text from her on my phone saying, I want to talk to you. And so I called her and I said, can we talk? And she's like, absolutely. I said, can we get a Zoom interview with you? Can you be on camera? And she goes, yeah, absolutely. And so we had a Zoom interview going that day. And I was actually supposed to be off on Tuesday. I was taking a day off because I'd been so exhausted from this Red Cloud stuff. But nope, it didn't happen. I went ahead and I got that ready to air Wednesday morning.
Yeah, journalism just... It's a hard hitting thing. But I mean, how fortunate that she was, wanting to speak. That's a hard part too, is that, sometimes
Absolutely.
There are complaints and then people are a little shy to go on camera. But, especially when this is surrounding transparency, great for her to talk.
Absolutely. And what I'll say is that, if you're from Red Cloud or anybody in this situation, reach out to me. I've got my messages open on my work Facebook page. You can reach out to the Local 4 page. You can email desk@ksnblocal4.com or my name, Ian.Mason, Mason, @ksnblocal4.com. Reach out to us. I want to talk to you. I want to tell your story. I want to figure out what's going on in Red Cloud because I know that there is a whole lot more going on that I'm not able to talk about yet, just because I've not been able to confirm it. But we want to make sure that we're telling this story as accurately as we can, and with as much resources as we can. So, you can talk to me on the record, off the record, but talk to me. Tell me what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you're someone who's just tuning into this, just maybe stumbling upon it on your social media and you've logged on, we will clip this in full so you can see some of the sound bites that we had from Rochelle Whitfeld. Is that correct? Am I saying that right?
Whitfield, I believe. Whitfield.
Okay, she's a concerned parent, and she wrote the letter to the school board. We touched on that. Another soundbite from Mike Heineck. He has 4 kids at Red Cloud Community
Yeah.
Schools, and then Jeff Armstrong, the Red Cloud Community Schools board president. All of that sound pretty much new in relation
Yeah,
to this
we
story.
ran a little bit of that sound, but we've never run the whole clip of Armstrong addressing it. We've kind of had to split it up because on TV we have time constraints. Here we don't have time constraints. I don't know how long Danielle wanted this to go, but I'm sure it's gone longer because I've just loved talking about this. I was really excited to be here and share that this is a big story. And I have another message to the community besides contact me. I had somebody ask me Tuesday morning. They said, "Well, now that you've aired this story, are you going to go away?" And I said, "No, I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to go away. I'm not going to stop this. Just because we've aired a little bit doesn't mean that we're done. We're just at the beginning of this because this is so big. This is so dense. We're just trying to wrap our head around it." So there was nothing on our show this morning about it. There probably won't be anything in our show tomorrow morning about it, just because I'm back into the investigation phase. I've come out with what I'm comfortable sharing on air as fact, and so we're not done investigating. I'm not done. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, a lot of work that needs to be done behind the scenes before you can kind of uncover more involved in this kind of can of worms. So what kind of happens next for you as you continue following all of
So
this?
there is a lot. That's a great question. There's a lot that's going on. So one of the things that Armstrong said, and I've not played this clip, but President Armstrong at the board said at the end of the meeting, so they went into their private session and he came back and he said, parents have been asking, can you say something after the private session? He said that he would have maybe something to share by the end of the week. Now, it is Thursday afternoon. He has not shared anything yet. And I have sources legal sources, I should clarify, that say he's probably not going to be able to share anything until the next board meeting, which is in December. But definitely something that I'm looking into is what's going to happen with the superintendent. And as far as what you can expect next from us reporting wise, we're going to be looking into the board requesting for Hannah Rupert's resignation from the board. We're going to be talking about that next. I've got some interviews that I've got lined up with some people who hopefully want to be on camera, crossing my fingers, and hopefully are willing to talk to us about the situation that's ongoing.
Right. And so you've had 3 articles so far, is that correct?
Yep, there's 3 of them. You can find them on my Facebook page. I also use Threads for some reason. I enjoy it. They've been on there. You can find them. They're on 1011's website. They're on KNOP's website. And of course, they're on Local 4's website. That's where I'm based, is Local 4 in Hastings. So I'm only 45 minutes from Red Cloud. It's a little bit easier for me to get there. But they're on everybody's website because this is such a big can of worms.
Yeah.
That, read these articles. They are fun for not fun. I'll say fun for me because I'm getting to share people's stories. I'm getting to try to help a community. I was talking to a school board member. I will say that I've had an off-the-record conversation with one school board member, and this person told me, "Look, I want the board to get to a healthy, functional state." And they hope that my reporting will help get them there, get them to stop being a dysfunctional board and start getting them to a point where they can work together.
And so I pulled up those 3 articles just to give viewers a better direction of where they can go. So the
Appreciate
title,
it.
I mean, if you go to either of our websites, you can search Red Cloud and they should be some of the first that pop up. But if you're looking on our webpage or, stumble upon it somewhere, the first one is called "It's Not My Job," in quotes. Complaint alleges staff dismissed responsibility for child left on bus. The second one is "Boy left alone on bus not discussed at Red Cloud school board meeting." And the third, most recent, transparency talk followed by silence. Red Cloud school board won't read parents' concerns. So A lot
Yeah.
of work, in-depth investigative work that's been done here by Ian Mason. Just some great stuff, and you should be proud of yourself of how much you're digging into
Thank you.
this. And I'm sure the Red Cloud community really appreciates all the work that you're putting into this.
I appreciate it. That's my goal here. That's why I went into the industry. I want to help people, and I hope that this work helps Red Cloud come together as a community and create a functional school board. Because at the meeting I was at, everybody there was passionate. Everybody cared. Everybody wanted what was best for the district. Everybody I've talked to wants what's best for the district, and what's best for the kids. And so I hope that with this reporting that can come.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that you want to add about your investigative work before we kind of close shop here?
Just say stay tuned. Local 4 today from 5 to 7 a.m. I'm the co-anchor on that show. I have a segment called the Alert Desk. Our viewers are probably familiar with that, whether you're from 1011 or from Western Nebraska. We have an alert desk here, and that is where most of this stuff is being shared. And so, I just say next week, stay tuned, because I've got some more stuff in the works that I'm looking forward to sharing.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Ian.
And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for watching. This has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So Local 4, as you heard, will continue following this story and update you as they learn more about this situation, if anything, and if any changes Red Cloud Community Schools can make moving forward. From our newsroom to wherever you are, we'll see you on the next stream.
1011 News is everywhere. Download our smart TV apps and follow us on social media at 1011 News.